This is a weekly talks or discussion that we have hosted by the Archaeological Studies program, and we brought it to online. I am Anna. I will be moderating this talk alongside with JJ, Arturo here. So the format here is that we will have our speaker give a talk. Feel free to have a discussion in the chat, or if you want, you can also raise your hand later during the discussion after the talk, and then we'll call on you to unmute or to also maybe show your open your video. Just a few I think there's no reminders from ASP. JJ?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
All right. Oh, but I think there are a few graduates who finished their diploma this second trimester, so they are now qualified for graduation. So if you know many of them, their names were already distributed, so you can congratulate your friends. All right. So we will begin our talk with one of our guests before, but her ideas were so fascinating. We wanted to know more, so we invited her to give a talk today. So let me introduce the speaker, Miss Tipawan Wongad Sapaybun. She is a professional archaeologist from the 8th Regional Office of Fine Arts, Khong Thien in Fine Arts Department, Thailand. She finished her Bachelor of Arts in Archaeology and did a Master's of Arts in Historical Archaeology, both in the Silpakorn University. She does research in ceramics technology, rock art, in ancient settlement patterns, and in the Lan Xang culture. Am I correct? Please tell me if I'm saying it wrong. She also has a lot of experience as a field archaeologist, which include the Khmer ancient monuments in northeast of Thailand. She did an excavation at Davaravati, ancient towns such as Dong Langkorn, Nakhon Patong, Shitep Mongpe, and Shitan. So please tell me if I'm saying it wrongly. And she also did an excavation at prehistoric sites, which includes the Pasak River Basin and especially in other Ban Chiang culture sites. So please, we would like to welcome Miss Tip with her talk today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for introducing me. And first of all, I must say thank you to Archaeological Study Programs, University of Philippines, that invite me to join the Binalot talk. Okay, for safe time, I will start with the presentation. Okay. Today I will talk about the excavations at Wat Nakha Thewi in Udon, Thani province. This site is located in the northeast of Thailand. And before I will talk in the details of the excavations, I will brief you some information about the Ban Chiang's cultures, because this site is a part of the Ban Chiang's culture site. And the next topics I will brief you a little bit about the other excavation site in Ban Chiang's cultures that the fire department conducted over 50 years. And the last, I will go to the main topics of us, that's the excavations in Wat Nakha Thewi. Ban Chiang's cultures is start their excavations in 1967 and it have the biggest excavations in 1974 to 1975 that we are excavations more than 6 square meters over the Ban Chiang's village. And in 1992, this site is become a World Heritage Site. Along the period that we are excavations, we found a huge numbers of the artifacts and evidence that lead the archaeologists can be devise the cultural developments of this site into the period. The third we call the early periods is dating around 4,500 to 3,000 years ago. And in this period, mostly we found a stone tool, but in the late of the early periods, we found the bronze tool also. And the specific characteristics of this period is the pottery that we call the back pottery with incised design. And the second period we call the middle period is dating around 3,000 to 2,300 years ago. And in this period, we found the bronze tool, and the specific pottery is the white carinate pottery, and some of them have the red painted on rims or the shoulder. And the last is we call the late periods, dating around 3,000 to 2,300 to 1,800 years ago. And this period we found iron tool, and the bronze is used for make the ornament. And the specific and well-known pottery is the red on buff painted design. And this is the sample of the early Ban Chiang culture pottery. The specific one is the black pottery with the incised design, and some we found the globular cordmark pottery and red painted, and we found the applique. This is the middle period. Mostly is the white big vessel, and some of them is found the red painted, but it's not too much. And the late period is the well-known pottery of Ban Chiang culture. And this is the red on buff pottery with the complicated design. After along the 50 years of the research about the Ban Chiang cultures, nowadays, after my projects in 2017, we found more than 140 sites under the Ban Chiang culture. The distributions is covered around over the upper part of northeastern of Thailand, and maybe in the some part of the other sides of Mekong River in Laos, especially in Vientiane. And this is the distributions of site. And in the point that I marked to you is the locations that we have the excavation. Nowadays, in under the Ban Chiang cultures, we have the archaeological site that had excavated around 11 sites, but I will show you some examples of the sites that can be substitutes or delegate of the each basins. I forgot to tell you a little bit. In the 140 sites that we found from the survey, it can be divided into 7 groups by the stream basins, natural stream basins. 6 of them are located in the Mekong River basins, and the other ones in the red points is located in the Shi River basin. And this is some examples of the excavations from 11 sites. I will show some that you can find the details if you're interested and find the detail to read more, such as the Kokon in Skirnakon province. This site, we found the remains of early to late Ban Chiang culture. And this is a Ban Pon in Udon Thani province. We found the middle to late Ban Chiang, and this is in Kokon in Nong Klai province. We found remains of late Ban Chiang culture. And this is a Ban Dung in Udon Thani province, excavation in 2002, and we found remains of middle to late Ban Chiang culture. And this is a new site that we excavation in 2014. Is a Don Thong Chai in Skirnakon province. It dating around middle to late Ban Chiang cultures. Most of sample that I show you is quite hard to find a English paper for read more, because mostly is published in Thai version. Okay, now we are go to the main topics of us is the excavations at Wat Nakha Thewi. This site is located far away from Ban Chiang archaeological site, around 50 kilometers. And this site is a circle mound, diameter around 150 diameters. And at the north and east side is have the natural streams. I choose to excavation this site because it's before I decided to conduct these projects in 2017, this site is used to find the artifacts before at least 2 times. The first time is in 1996. The villagers and the monks in the temples are renovate the ancient building, and they found the 19 Buddha image that are put in the Songkhla River Basin pottery, and over the pottery is have the blue and white from Ming to Qing's dynasty cover. And the characteristics of this Buddha image is very important because it represents the influence of Lan Xang culture in that have over in this area in 17th to 19th century. However, at that time is have a one special artifact, that is the buff pot with rain pattern from the Ban Chiang's cultures. But the questions at that time is why we found the Ban Chiang's pottery in this area. After that, in 2005, we have the rescues archaeology again in this temple because when the village and monks are trying to build the big Buddha image in this temple, they found the evidence and the burial, the pottery and the skeleton inside. For these reasons, the archaeologists go there to examine and the artifacts. At that time, we found huge of the potsherds and more than 6 skeletons that was moved out of the soil. And we found 2 skeletons in the bottom of the hole. The artifacts that we found is indicators of the Ban Chiang's cultures. And this is the pictures from the rescued excavation in 2005. And this is when we arrived, it have just only the 2 skeletons that we can investigate. The first one is the skeleton. We call it skeleton number 1 that found around 2.2 meters from the surface. This skeleton is an adult male, estimated at age around 25 to 35 years and buried in the extended positions and head to the southwest directions. And at the first, we found the incised design pottery. And this type of pottery when we start, we will know it can relate with the early Ban Chiang's culture. And the second skeletons, we call the skeleton number 2. We found at 2.5 meters from the surface. She is a female and estimated at around 35 to 45 years. And in 2018, I conduct a project to help the village and help the temple to make the local museums. And I moved some of the artifacts that found in 2005 to cleanse and exhibitions and make the exhibitions. And I found the infant burial jar. That's very important because from the research at the Ban Chiang archaeological site, infant burial jar can be related with the early Ban Chiang cultures that we found a lot. And the type of the pottery of the infant burial jar can be related with early Ban Chiang also. And this is some artifacts that we found from the constructions Big Buddha image in 2005, such as the freshwater snail and freshwater clam. And we found the cowrie that maybe seashell bead. And we found the clay, I call it clay ball, but now I don't know the functions, the true functions of these artifacts. And we found the stone bangle and iron tool. But the questions about the iron tool is Now I don't know, is this the artifacts from the late Ban Chiang cultures, or is the artifacts from Lan Xang period? And we found a lot of human remains and animal bones, and we found iron tool, bronze tool also. And from 2005 we found a huge of the pottery, especially black incised design from the early Ban Chiang culture. For these reasons, in 2017, I conduct the conservations and development project at this site. I have 4 objectives to this project. The first, to verify the development of the cultures by archaeological process. Like I told you before, in 1996 and 2005, we found a lot of artifacts, but it's from the rescue archaeology, but it's not from the process. So I try to conduct this project to do that. And I want to study about the relationships between these sites and other ancient community, especially under the Ban Chiang culture. And I want to try to apply and disseminate the information to the community and the publics, and utilize these informations to make the exhibitions for a local museum. Because this temple is a very famous tourist attractions. It's known as the fabric city, that a lot of tourists will come to shopping in this area. So it can be developed to one of the local site museum. And the activity that I do in this project is, the first thing I do the survey archaeological site, and the second is excavations, and the third is set the plans to develop in 2018. And I work with the villagers and monk and my colleagues that join together to work in these projects. And the result of the excavations in 2017, the artifacts that I found can be divided into 2 periods. The first is Lan Xang period. Under the influence of Lan Xang kingdoms that are the capital from in Vientiane in Laos nowadays. This period is dating around 17th to 19th century. And the second is the prehistoric period. From AMS Dating of the charcoal sample, is verified the prehistoric people settled at this area between 3,400 to 3,200 years ago. And I will show you some examples of the artifacts that I found in each period. The first is Lan Xang's. We found a cave pipe. Those are the common artifacts that we will find in this period. And we found the Chinese ceramics, especially from Ming to Qing dynasty. And we found the Lan Xang pottery from Songkham River Basin Clean, and this dating around 17th to 19th century. And we found a part of the ancient monument that is a bricks and clay roof type, therefore make the Buddhism building. And the main artifacts that we found from the soil stratigraphies, and this is the main settlement in this area, is the prehistoric period that can be related with the early Ban Chiang cultures. And some examples of the artifacts such as the polish stone tool, clay anvil, stone bangle, clay tool, pellet, and clay bangles and animal figurine. That are the common artifacts that we will find in the Ban Chiang cultures. And we found the stone that like an autochthonous stone from the other area, but now we don't know where is the original from. And we found the bones too. That's quite common in Ban Chiang culture also. And we found the fragments that can be related with the bone crustings technology, such as the clay and sandstone waffle mold. And we found the crucible and bronze fragment like an bronze arrowhead, and like a piece of the bangle. Moreover, we found the various type of pottery, potsherd, is have a different decorations and different techniques such as the coin, and we found the bamboo basket stamp, we found incised, we found the cordmark, and we found the painted. And we found a varieties of animal, but it have some are still some questions about this, like especially in the boar and cattle that we waiting for study about the DNA of them to classify that is domestic or wild animal. And some of animal bone we found a cut mark and percussion marks on the surface of the bone also. From the remains of the terrestrials as well as wild animals, aquatic animals, and plant species that we found from the flotation in this site indicate that the climate and natural environments of this area in the past were much controlled by monsoon and quite similar to the present day. And the last evidence that we found in the lowest layers of the occupied layers is the burial, that are the skeletons and adult female estimated at that around 33 to 45 years from study from the dental wear, and she was buried in lie on her right side positions and head to the east direction, and she has two vessels and personnel on her foot. From in the details on the mandible, we found the periodontal disease on her teeth. And from the type, the characters of the pottery that we found with her burial is represent this is the type of the pottery in the early Ban Chiang cultures, especially the first one that we have the red painted on the body. This can compare with the early Ban Chiang pottery that found from the excavations at Ban Chiang site, and dating around 4,300 to 3,000 years ago. And this is the pattern of the red painted design on the pottery that we found. And the other ones is the pottery with the cord marks on the surface that can compare with the early Ban Chiang pottery and dating and relate with the early Ban Chiang also. However, this type of the pottery we found in the other areas of the prehistoric period in northeastern of Thailand that are the well-known site is called Lan Xang culture. But in Lan Xang cultures, although the typologies and the decoration is same, but the textures of the vessel is quite different. And this is the layers and soil stratigraphies of the excavation site. And I sent some examples from layer 10 and 18s to datings, and the dating is quite same. Okay, in conclusions, at this time, it can be classified the chronologies of Wat Nakha Thewi site into two periods, according to the potsherds and the other artifacts that I found. The first period in the topsoil is the Lan Xang period, dating around 17th to 19th century. And this is very important because it represents the influence of Lan Xang kingdoms over this area, especially after King Shayashet-Hatila, the great kings of Lan Xang's kingdom, moved the capital to Vientiane in 1566. And the second period is the prehistoric period that can be contemporary with early Ban Chiang cultures. And from AMS Dating and the charcoal sample, we find the prehistoric people settled at this area between 3,400 to 3,200 years ago. And this is some of the reference that you can search it in the futures, but mostly is in Thai versions. So if you are interested in some site that I show your example, maybe you can contact me to add more details. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pip. That was a very great and precise, very concise talk. So I think there's a lot of questions. There might be some questions here. But first, if anyone wants to ask any questions, you can press the reactions button at the bottom, and then you can raise your hand so we can call you to open your video. And also, you can also type in your questions at the chat, and Arturo and JJ and I will read it out loud. But in the meantime, what you're saying here is that was there an exchange going on, or are there evidences of exchanges between the two within other sites, nearby sites?
From excavations, I didn't see something special that should represent the exchange between the other sides, except stone that are the original is not have in this area, but we think is import from the other side, especially the semi-precious stone. But now we don't still don't know where this is from. But from 2005, from the rescues archaeologists, we found the glass bead that absolutely it must be import from somewhere. Maybe it's from the central of Thailand or in the others area, but it's now still is quite a problem because like I told you, from the excavations which I found just only one layers of the early Ban Chiang sculptures, but from some artifacts that we found in 2005, some artifact it represents maybe in this area is will have the occupy in the late Ban Chiang culture around 2,500 years ago. And the glass bead that found in this area mostly is we will found in around 2,500 years ago. So it is the questions now still the questions that the glass bead that we found is from the late period or in the early Ban Chiang culture. So it's still the questions.
Okay, I think feel free for everyone. You can also ask questions. There are also some people who are coming from Thailand as well, so they can probably give some insights as well. I
believe Sir Vic has a question.
Oh, okay.
Hello, Thip. Nice to see you again. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to see you.
A wonderful talk, and I'm glad to hear you're working at your own sites and continuing the great tradition of the Ban Chiang project. I have several questions, but is the Ban Chiang excavation still going on in the original site in Ban Chiang?
In Ban Chiang site, after 1975, we have just only one time for remove the artifacts that the first we have an open site, and we move all artifacts and replaced by replica. It's have just the last time of the excavations at this site, and after that we never excavations again in this in Ban Chiang sites, because nowadays all of the area is the village. And we don't have the free space for excavations. And this problem is happened with most of the Ban Chiang culture site. Wat Nakha Thewi is the same problems because we have just only the small space for excavation.
Now in Wat Nakha Thewi, I noticed in your periods, you have your prehistoric period, and then you have your Lan Xang period, but there's a big gap in the middle. does it mean that there was a hiatus? There was no evidence of any human activity in between?
From excavations, I found just a small piece of the late Ban Chiang pottery, but it's really small,
Mhm.
and we found on the topsoil. So I cannot confirm that it will have the middle or late Ban Chiang sculptures or not. But I think in the others area of this site is maybe have the other periods, but it's very hard to answer these questions because all of area are the village.
But
And
you're going back. You're continuing the excavation in the after the pandemic. Are you going to excavate more in this?
now I don't have the plans to excavations again because now I move my areas to the rock art site.
Oh,
Yes, and now
in art.
after 4 years, I work just only the rock art sites.
Um, those artifacts that you showed that were made of clay, but are formed like bangles and figurines, like animals.
Yes.
What's your interpretation of that? Are they artifacts that are already being utilized, or are they a part of the process of creating metal bangles and figurines? In other words, they're molds, no, clay molds, and then before they're being casted and then made into bronze or any metal bangles. Which of course you have examples in your other slides, no? Those clay.
In the middle one,
Yeah, they're
this
clay.
is the crate and like a donut.
Yes, like a bucket with spikes, made out
Oh,
of
that's
clay. Yes, and then
yeah.
in that slide that you showed at the bottom, there's a clay figure, like
Yeah.
an animal.
Uh-huh.
Are they actual finished products, or are they the molds or the cast in making metal versions of these products, like in the casting? Because you excavated a lot of molds, no?
Yeah.
And could this be the process before that? Does it make sense?
I'm not sure about this.
Yeah.
Did they have evidences of use? I guess that's.
I was just thinking, a clay bangle would be very fragile, no? I mean, to use.
Yeah.
It will break.
You say maybe is this like a mold for makes the bronze bangle, right?
Yes.
This is I never think about this before, but maybe it's
You will
maybe
be
it's really
have to study more. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for this idea.
I just have one more question. Is anyone? Did you find a lot of cowrie? Like you showed one single cowrie shell.
Yeah.
The shell, right? Did you find many or just one?
This is from rescue in 2005, and it have just only one piece of them.
Yeah. So it's very rare.
Yes.
They were very rare and they're very expensive. Now I was just wondering if someone now in Thailand, because the last person who worked with cowrie shell and sourcing was way back in the early 70s. But a good question to ask with the cowrie shells is the source in Thailand. Originally, the early sources were in the Indian Ocean. But later on, by the 15th century onward, it was in the Pacific, in around the Philippines, in island Southeast Asia. So if someone could study the cowrie shells more, maybe differentiate species varieties, from the Indian Ocean, and that would be an interesting study, if ever.
I have some examples in Khon Kaen province. The last year, the villagers found the prehistoric burial with the cowries, and from the I get the help from the entire expert about the shells. He classifies have two types of the shells, the cowrie, and most of them can find in the south of Thailand.
So,
Is this,
yeah,
yes, but it's our two species of the cowries. But this site is dating just only around 2,500 years ago. But it shows the connects between the inland, very deep inland, with and the people that are stay in the coastal area.
thank you very much.
I think JJ has a question.
Yes. Yeah. Again, thank you, Tip, for this very interesting presentation. Yeah, I guess sort of questions I was sort of thinking about was in the sites that you were observing and doing excavation and fieldwork at, was there any evidence of specialized craft production and or certain spaces of craft industry, or was it more sort of for local development? And because you sort of said also said that there was limited evidence of trade, and I was wondering if these the objects that you found were traded more locally, or were they even just restricted to the site themselves? So I was wondering, like, how far did objects move either within the site itself or in a more local region or a more external region, I guess.
Oh, it's very hard to answer these questions. First, I must say these excavations, I excavations in very quite small area. It's just only 12 square meter. So most of the artifacts that I found is not too much, and most of them can be related with the early Ban Chiang culture, and all of them, 99% of them is uh, the local productions and local animals, and I didn't find something special that can tell you about the trade with the others area, or bring the raw material from other side, except the evidence that about the bronze casting that in these areas don't have the ore, especially the coppers and tins and others. In this area they didn't have, but closest this area is the Pulon, that far away from this site, around 70 kilometer around that. It's not too far, but from the research about the what is this called in English? From the bronze ornament and bronze tool in Ban Chiang sculptures that represents the copper is not from Pulon's mine, and maybe is can relate with lead isotopes from lead isotopes. It can be related with in Sepon in Laos more than. So now it's still the questions that about the bronze ornaments or bronze fragments that I found in this site about the copper is from Pulon or from the other areas.
Interesting. So yeah. So I was also thinking, because you were seeing these baked clay pellets. I remember you showed baked clay pellets at the
Yeah.
scene. And they're very small, right? Well, not so small, but
not small, quite big.
Around 3 centimeters, am I correct?
Around 1 centimeter.
Oh, okay, 1 centimeter. Because they were fired and they look like they're perfect stones, but they look like they also have holes at the end or the beginnings of it. So I was wondering if there were evidences of making pottery or firing pottery, and also making clay beads in that area, or is clay beads even a work that people were doing there?
You mean the blue glass bead? Yes, right?
No. I was thinking that the clay pellets might. Oh, sorry. I was thinking that the clay pellets might be
clay pellet.
But I could be wrong.
Clay pellet.
Yes.
Is again. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I understand.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Is
she's
the
thinking that
6 nail is quite
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize. Yes.
yeah.
I think it's also my electric fan because it's quite warm. There was you showed at the upper right of one of your slides there was round clay pellets. Am I
Yeah.
correct?
Ah.
And I noticed that they had what looked like the beginning of holes at the ends.
Full
Maybe holes.
hold.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe it's I'm not sure if they are beads or because I'm that's the first thing that comes into mind when
Oh,
I think
is crapulets is used for hunt small animals, and it didn't have the hole inside, but it's broken. Sorry,
Oh, Anna,
you
you're muted.
oh sorry yes were they making it locally?
yes, in local.
Okay. Oh, okay. So like clay bullets as well. That means clay bullets. Okay, that's very interesting. So they were using
Yeah.
it for
Hunt a small animal
that's
like a
interesting.
squirrel, something like
Yeah.
that.
I think that's really cute. I also have other questions, but other people might also want to add more. Well, okay. Because I was.
Wait, Sir Vic,
Oh,
I think has a question as
okay.
well.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Tip, did you, in any of the Ban Chiang sites that you worked in or you studied, did you see any linglingos?
Never,
But they're not associated.
yeah,
Oh,
never.
in your slide, you had something like that, no? Back socketed.
Yeah, bronze too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you see the mold also? Were there molds?
We never found the mold from excavations from the survey we have.
Well, what do you call it? What do you call it in Thailand? The
ขวานสำริด ขวาน is mean axe and สำริด it means bronze.
in English it's called socketed socket, no? Socketed bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw two very nice examples.
Yeah.
So very rare in the Philippines. No?
But I used to excavations this mold in the central of Thailand.
That's right.
Yes, is dating around 3,400 years ago from AMS Dating.
Yeah.
And I found includes the bifold mold and the bronze too also in the same size. And we found the copper ingots from Khao Wong Pachan Valley in the same area.
That's good. Yeah. Thank you.
But the problems about the Thai research and Thai excavations is mostly I publish my report in Thai version, so it's
That's okay.
quite hard to search them.
That makes sense.
As long as there are a lot of pictures, put a lot of pictures. So we
Yeah.
It's great. You can also see the pictures and then we can try to compare.
Yeah.
I was also curious. I have another question. So for you didn't excavate the infant jar burials. These were excavated earlier. Am I correct?
Again, please.
Sorry that I keep forgetting. So you didn't excavate the infant jar burials. These were excavated in an earlier excavation.
Jar burial?
Yeah, the infant, the baby.
Oh, infant is
Yeah.
found from 2005.
Okay.
Yes, and at that time we didn't know it's half because most of the pottery and artifacts that the villagers move from the soil is what keep in the bucket, and it's have more than 50 bucket. It's a big bucket. So when I come to help the temples to make the exhibitions in the museum, in the local museums, I'm trying to move some of them to cleans and choose for exhibitions, and I found the infant burial jar. Yes, but now it was destroyed because the villager thinks inside it will have some gold or the precious stone, so they hit it.
Yeah. So that's why in the pictures that you had, it's a broken shirt that with the bones stuck to it.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you can you more or less age the infants?
Is maybe it's at under 2 years old. Under
Okay.
2 years old from the teeth.
Yes.
Uh,
In terms of I maybe not familiar, but in terms of that period, can you date this already, or is it associated to the earlier group culture?
is from the I relate from the potteries and the pattern of the pottery outside is relate with the early Ban Chiang cultures. Um, your
Anna, you did
microphone.
I have. I'm sorry. My mouse is also playing with me. Do you know that if the this is are the pottery used or reused? Where can you see some evidences of them being used before, other than being a burial jar?
um, oh, I didn't look in the detail too much. Yes, so I cannot answer this question. Sorry,
Oh, no worries.
because
But
it's just a small pieces.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And it's amazing that you also managed to find them in tiny in small shirts, and then you can see the bones. I thought that was a very fascinating find. So I'm really happy with that. Uh, with regards to the okay, so the infant jar burials, they're also considering that they're 2 years old or younger. They're
Younger.
likely primary burials. Am I correct?
Yes, I think it's a primary burial because from the textures of the bones that are stuck in the inside the pottery, I think it is the primary burial. And if you compare with the research in the Ban Chiang cultures, is in the Ban Chiang site is represent infantile burials is will bury the bodies of the babies from newborns until under 2 age in the big globular cordmark pottery. But I'm not sure is the use or make a new one for bury the infant.
Mhm. So thank you for that. I was just curious about them. I remember that there were a lot of jar burials in the Ban Chiang culture for infants, and it's it's really based on the concept that there's going to be a lot of infant burials, as well as the older ages, the burials of older ages. So that's interesting. There's
Yeah.
a
So,
question. Oh, sorry.
oh,
Yes, go ahead, JJ.
yeah, I was wondering. Yeah. So sort of again in relation to those burials. So was it, I guess, standard practice for child burials to happen? Their remains be placed in jars, and then I guess older burials. So like the two burials that you showed, to be sort of laid in I forget the word. Just
Extended. Yeah.
extend. Yeah, thank you. Extended burials. Was that sort of the practice in Ban Chiang culture?
Um, um, I'm trying to remember, so I'm not sure about this. I will find the answers to you after this because I'm not sure the about the patterns of the burials in each period and the relationships and the exchange of the patterns of the burial. But mostly in from the early to late period, the positions of the skeleton is the extent, is not have the squash and not have the sitting in this Ban Chiang culture.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, 'cause
There's
that
a
seems very interesting to me.
There's a question here from Mark Mabanag. So, what do you think caused the abandonment of the WNT site? So, your site based on two
Um,
different temporally distant time periods represented from the findings at the site. So, what do you think caused the abandonment of the site? So, they're based on two different temporally distant time periods
mhm,
represented from the findings at the site. Or do you
mhm.
think there was an abandonment that occurred? Or do you think, or what do you think?
Um, in my research, I'm not confirmed about this, but this is like an the beginning of the theory. From the survey 140 site under the Ban Chiang cultures, and from the samples of the excavations in these groups that are divided into 7 groups, is represents maybe the populations of the early Ban Chiang culture to the late Ban Chiang cultures is have the floor and is have the move to the others area from the pottery that I found in the upper part of Nam Sui river basins. Mostly of this side, we will find the artifacts from early Ban Chiang cultures, and we didn't find the middle and late. But the evidence that I found is from the survey, so I cannot confirm that. But in the middle groups, in the middle groups, we will find from the early, middle, and late. But in the east side, we will find just only the middle and late, and mostly is the late period. So I think maybe it will have a flows of the populations in Ban Chiang cultures, but now it's the process to research and need more excavation site to support this theory. And the others, only this Wat Nakha Thewi site from the excavations, like I told you, is just the small areas, and I found just only the early period. But I think in the others area, maybe it will have the middle to late Ban Chiang cultures, but the populations is maybe less than in early because we didn't found the evidence too much to support about the middle and late Ban Chiang culture in this site. I'm not sure I'm answer the directly to her questions.
Oh, I think it makes sense because there's the excavation or the study of the site is going to be continuous anyway. So
Yeah.
I think that's always things that archaeologists can look forward to. I have a question regarding uh the area. So if there, do you think maybe this is also forward, but or maybe something that they can think about because people are also moving. It looks like there might be a gradual move towards it's and I don't know if this space is if this excavation did find evidences of is it a domestic site or is it just simply a burial site?
From excavations, most of them is like a burial site.
Mhm.
But from the excavations in east side, we found the hold of the house, the household
Uh-huh.
inside the same area with the burial area also. So it is maybe the at that times the ancient people spend the area in more than one functions. It's not just only the burial, but it's a like area for the accommodations also.
Yeah. And
Because mostly site in Ban Chiang's culture is not big area. The diameter is around 100 meter to 150 meters, only that. So it's very small,
but it yeah,
very small amount. So the functions of this area is must be used more than one function.
yeah, it makes sense.
Right. I think we have a question by Alvin Chua. If you could, yes. Hello.
Hi.
Oh, Alvin, I think you're.
Sorry, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks. Thanks for your interesting talk. I have a question about the pottery, more specifically, whether there's been any mineralogical and geochemical studies that have been done on them. Because I've come across a paper that did comparisons between some pottery from Ban Chiang and Ban Chiang by Suryaratana Bupa.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if that kind of comparisons might be done with your site as well. Thanks.
We don't have, we are just study only the typologies, and we have a plan to join with Dr. Suryaratana Bupa to study about the thin sections or the chemicals of the ceramic in the future, in the near futures. Because now I think she have the postgraduate research on the Ban Chiang's potteries, and maybe this is the one of the sites that we will send the sample to test them.
That's actually a good question, because I was thinking, I was telling Ara here, who was, it looks like there was a Mindanao site, and in Mindanao in the Philippines, there's a site there that looks like it also had the same paint and scrolls as the Ban Chiang, as the ones that you showed, and it also had the corded mark pottery. That's not, as far as I know, there's no evidence, or there's no corded marks in the Visayas, for example, in the middle of the Philippines. These are mostly found in Mindanao. So I was wondering that maybe that can also be a point of comparison in the future.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not saying that. Unfortunately, these sites aren't dated, but it can be something that we can look into, because if Alvin, the site that you're referring to, where can I ask where it is?
The one in Thailand, is it?
Yeah, the one that you're talking about.
Yeah, Bandong Tong Chai. I think, I'm not sure that I'm
Yeah,
pronouncing it correctly.
Don Thong Chai, yes. Don Thong Chai in Skonapan province. But from her research is the excavations in 1994, I think, I'm not sure. But the newest in this site, we just excavation in 2014, and we found a huge number of the new burial and pottery and skeletons from this site also.
Yeah, the paper that the article that I have is from 2003, so that's quite old already.
Yeah, yes.
I still think that 2003 was just 5 years ago.
and now she is the lecturer in the Thani province, and this universities have a laboratory for study about the thin sections and chemicals also. So now she have a plans to research about the Ban Chiang's pottery, and maybe in near future is we'll have the new informations about the Ban Chiang's pottery.
Yeah, I would look forward to having a look at the publications of the results. Would it be in Thai, by the way, or is there any, will it are there plans to publish it in English as well?
Now we didn't have any plans to publish about this, but I have just read the abstract of my paper in the SPAFA conference 2 years ago about this topic. But if you are interested, I will send you in Thai versions. But if you have any questions, you can ask me more about the details.
Yes, I think I'll keep in touch with you regarding the thin sections.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks.
You can also put your email address here, or you can exchange email addresses. But I guess just to close the talks, I wanted to ask, so what's next for this site? because you also mentioned that there's a heritage aspect to it, and you're going to there, but and it's also quite an urban space. So what's next for this?
This size now we are finished about small exhibitions. Is have their own local museums, a local site museum in this area. And now the local government is come to join with the fire departments to develop this sites and utilize the information that we have to be a part of the tourist attractions in this temple. And in near futures, this year, fire department move to makes the local site museums to Bandon Thongchai and to makes the exhibitions and support to give the knowledge to villagers to make their own tourist guide for this site also by supporting informations and more detailed about the site to the local people. And we do the projects connect from the last year. But in this year, the pandemic in Thailand is quite hard and very strong. So now we are pause our projects first.
Yeah, that makes sense. But that's actually a very good concept of the local governments also coming in and helping out, and students also contributing to new ideas. So maybe this is already from what I remember you mentioning, this is now a temple site. Am I correct? Or
this local site museums that locate in the temple.
Okay. Okay. So
because this site excavation in the temple.
Okay. So now they're the ones who are keeping. Are they the ones keeping the artifacts for you, or is there a system?
The excavations from the artifacts from excavation are kept in my office, but the artifacts from rescues archaeology in 2005 now is kept in the temple, and it's just only the 20% that are finished to clean and exhibitions, and now it's have more than 80% that are still and waiting for research in the future.
That's an invitation, Alvin.
Yeah.
And for all of the students here as well, I think that if they might be interested, can they contact you if they're interested in looking at the artifacts?
Yes, of course.
All right. Okay. I guess there might still be some questions, but maybe we can also email you, or you can put in your email address at the chat.
Yes, I will put my email address in the chat.
Right.
And if you have any questions or I want more details about that, you can contact me.
All right. And we would be happy if you can I will probably request as well a copy of the report, even if it's in Thai. I don't mind. I will be happy to look at the pictures as well. And we're yeah.
If anyone have a questions and don't understand or need more the describe in English in some person can ask me.
Right. And are you going to be at the SPAFA conference at the end of the year? Online?
Maybe I'm not sure. I just see the announcements the few minutes ago.
Okay.
Because it leave just only a 2-week leave, like to send the abstract.
Yeah.
But I just see it.
that might be interesting, and it's a nice way for people to learn more about the archaeological sites all over Southeast Asia, and for you to also share it with the rest of Southeast Asia.
Yes, but the last 2 years I just moved focus only on the rock art site. Yes, mostly.
Yes. Well, rock art is always a good topic, so maybe we can also invite you again to give another talk about
you're welcome.
art.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we had to choose, so we'll eventually get to the rock art as well. All right. So everyone, thank you Tip,
Thank you very much. Thank
for
you.
sharing your talk. Thank you to everyone who attended the Binalot Talks. We will be having a 2-week break starting next week, and we will be back on we will be back on July 7 with a talk by Jean Camillo. So please, if you want to on July 7, yeah, 7/7. So you can like the Facebook page of the Binalot Talks, and we will also try to be catching up. We will try to catch up on our YouTube uploads of the previous Binalot Talks. So thank you very much. Thank you, Tip, for this wonderful talk. Thank you, everyone, and see you in 2 weeks and online.
Thank you.
Thank you.